Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today. I know I say that all the time. But we are on Gresvin, the AI edition, and one of the bots I've definitely got my eye on here today. It is Phobos. Phobos is the same bot made by Team Eris, which is the top Zerg bot, I believe it's safe to say. And that makes watching Phobos very exciting to see. Now taking on Phobos is a frequent flyer in these casts. It's ANIbot. And so, if you guys enjoy these videos, as always, leave a like on the video. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that one up if you're not. And yeah, TVT, but more importantly, a bot versus bot here today. Phobos, I'm not sure if I've played TVT. I've maybe cast like 3 or 4 Phobos games at this point, so it definitely is still a bit of an anomaly. Okay, racks on the way for each bot. We do not have a scout for Phobos, except for this SCV kind of just hanging out around at the natural. Going back and forth endlessly. I guess that's just to check for rushes, something like that. I really do not know. Anyway, ANIbot also playing completely blind, so not a lot of info for either of these bots, so neither are hugely dependent on scouting information, apparently, which is interesting as far as the debate, I suppose, on how you're going to make a bot play, all the different approaches to programming. Scouting definitely would be a nightmare to program, I can only imagine. So, if you're a bot author and you're trying to make your bot really efficient without spending too much time on certain things, that could be a thing to give up. And then just make your bot play a little bit defensive. Okay, we have this Reaper constantly firing its jetpacks, running into that factory, which doesn't hurt it. Now for ANIbot, we've got it seemingly going for that safe planetary fortress build, which is something that I really like from these Terran bots. The first Terran bot that I ever saw that did this was a Ketrox bot. And it did that strategy incredibly well. In fact, it's still doing that. Now, we have got 2 Reapers on the way for Phobos, followed up by a Hellion, so looking like a fairly normal TVT opening for Phobos. It's got a Medivac on the way with this as well, so potentially a bit of early aggression, which is really exciting, as I do like Phobos for its like drops. I believe I've seen it drop in the past, and that makes it just a really fun bot to watch, because not every bot goes for a strategy so specialized such as this. We'll see if ANIbot's going to be prepared for this. Of course, ANIbot's investing a lot of resources into its command center, a built-in armory and engineering bay. Not a whole lot of units. It does, however, have 1 Widowmine with another one on the way. And Widowmines could potentially kill this Medivac or just annihilate the Reapers. Either way, the fact that the armory is already done means that detection has got to be utilized actually to kill this Widowmine. So this is a bit of a different strategy from ANIbot, thinking about it. I don't think I've seen this before. A bot relying on the cloak mechanic from Widowmines. I mean, the armory isn't just for that, as it's researching +1 attack, but it could very well be a big factor here. Unfortunately, those Widowmines are going to get straight up bypassed by these Reapers. Jumping up that cliff, there's 4 Hellions getting unloaded into this. It's like Phobos' strategy is go for the main behind this. Hellions engaging Hellions. Reapers chasing SCVs. We'll see if these Reapers are going to attack just the workers or go for the Hellions. Looks like they are targeted specifically on those workers. 2 Reapers are injured, trying to get out of there. They're going to jump back up, take a shot from that Hellion, but they smartly avoid that Widowmine. Whether that was intentional or just random bot pathing, we will never know, likely. The fact that those Reapers did avoid those Widowmines is a darn big deal. Now, how many SCVs were killed? The answer is 9. Is that enough damage? Potentially. I love the Medivac healing the Reapers, by the way. Is that enough damage? I'd say so. It's not like it's a huge amount of damage that got done as that grenade kills that Marine, but it did seemingly even things up a bit for Phobos. It's now got its own natural base done. It's of course behind on the tech quite a bit, with ANIbot going so hard on the tech. Now we take a look here. Our Raven's on the way. Phobos' follow-up. It's got those 2 Reapers going to go into the main again. That Medivac's just hanging out. It's there to support them, though. We'll see if they get any damage done. ANIbot does have good defensive reaction. Maybe not good defensive positioning, the fact that it wasn't watching that cliff again. But it did react very quickly, so those Reapers did not get another SCV kill. While this is going on, they've got this SCV pathing to the 3rd, I believe. But then it goes back home, so I guess that was just a scout. Viking on the way for Phobos. ANIbot making lots of that strong mech, the Hellions, the siege tanks. A very powerful composition, and we'll see how well ANIbot is going to position with those units, how well it will engage. Because the bot using Hellions is a big mystery factor. Because just the way bots engage, it's always so non-committal. And Hellions are usually a unit that you want a commitment from. You want the Hellions to get serious, I suppose. Now we've got +1 armor on the way for ANIbot. Siege tank being produced for Phobos, a Viking, a Marine as well. Double Marines, actually. Okay. Now, Phobos going to be going for an attack here. It's got the Raven going to drop an auto turret. Those Hellions actually cut that down so quickly. That's ridiculous. They're even cutting down the siege tank. That +1 attack is really showing there. The tank does not go down, actually. The Marines are not going to stand a chance against Blue Flame Hellions. What a defense by ANIbot. There's just a couple more units trickling in here. The Vikings are just hanging out now. But that was a very solid defense. My gosh, the +1 attack really let those Hellions completely cut that up. Now we take a look here. There is the Raven regrouping up with a tank, a couple of Marines, but that's not going to do it, although the tank did get pulled back to repair, it seems. Maybe there can be a slight delay on this 3rd base if that SCV kills and the bot doesn't replace it, or if that SCV gets killed and the bot doesn't replace it. That could be more than that. Now, it looks like ANIbot is not wasting any time. It's actually going to get out there, try and shut this down, and it will shut this down. If the Vikings landed, that would maybe be a different story, as Vikings are really good against Hellions with that plus mechanical damage. An auto turret gets dropped. The Vikings are working away on the planetary. Will they keep it going to kill it? Yes, they will. The Raven needs a Widowmine shot, not something a Widowmine, or not something a Raven should be doing, is dying to a Widowmine, seeing as how it's one of the few units in the game that can see it. But anyway, looks like ANIbot is just going to replace that 3rd base as quick as it can. Phobos still being aggressive. That's one of the things I'm really enjoying about this bot. A factory is now going to be getting finished up. A couple of racks as well. Phobos really laying on that production, but it is down in workers. It never built a 3rd base. It is effectively 2 base all-inning. So getting the 3rd is not enough for it here necessarily. The tanks are starting to get set up for Phobos, but breaking the tanks of ANIbot will be a challenge. There's 5 Vikings out for Phobos, so we'll have control of the skies. Gradually, the trades will get worse for it in the skies, particularly as +1 air weapons is on the way for ANIbot. That's going to mean that it'll take much better Viking trades, as it's already got +1 armor. So Phobos just making non-upgraded Marines, rallying them out. A scan gets used by ANIbot. Scan needed for vision. It does that. It looks like the tank is actually getting some good shots off for ANIbot. Phobos mistakenly unsieged this tank, whereas the correct call there would be to target down the opponent's tanks. This Widowmine shot a Viking. We see the Vikings for Phobos. They're really pooled up, but there's not a lot of HP on some of them. There's nothing on the ground to support them. This guy might just hang out and get hit by this Widowmine again. It's like, he's not going to live that long, as I think an enemy Viking took it out, but there goes another Widowmine, kills off 2 Vikings, softens up some more. At this rate, control of the skies is going to tilt to ANIbot real darn soon. ANIbot's also got that 3rd base up. Incredible macro here. Not making it a planetary, and there never actually was a planetary, so the eBay still is a little baffling to me. However, I mean, ANIbot's in a great economic position. As long as it doesn't make some massive blunder, I think this game should eventually turn in its favor. It's making some Cyclones, some Vikings. Its tanks really are what's keeping it alive in this game. And it's been keeping its tanks alive in this game in exchange. Not a single one of its tanks have gone down. That is huge. And as long as there are tanks there, Phobos should not be able to break this line. Non-stimmed Marines, tanks trying to inch forward into other tanks, it just doesn't work. Unless there's control of the skies, which... well, that's gone. There's also now control of the skies soon to be for ANIbot, as it's making 3 Vikings at a time. It's got this upgrade, so that Raven's going to be pushed back. Looks like Phobos will lose vision. We see what happens as the Marines wander forward into those siege tanks. Vikings engaging each other. That will not go the way of Phobos' Viking. Its Raven will be bullied away. And yeah, a nice contain here for Phobos, but it's not really a contain when ANIbot actually has the 3rd base planetary up now. And getting up a 4th base. It's just not wasting any time. We'll see if Phobos has redundancy in which it'll try and transition, but at this point it might just be too late. It did get a tank kill as one of the... or no, that was a Cyclone, pardon me. Never mind, it's still not killed a tank. That was a Cyclone that got too far forward. Or it must have been anyway. High-sec auto-tracking is on the way, so that eBay will be getting some use. Looks like ANIbot thinking of going forward, wanders into the siege tanks. Phobos is building up a silly number of non-stim Marines, 33. No one should ever have 33 non-upgraded Marines. I don't care what the situation is. Okay, tanks getting good shots off for Phobos. Going to be cutting up those Hellions. Resources are way in favor for ANIbot, so it can replace those Hellions without too many worries. But it is actually bleeding off a lot of its units there. Still, though, the Marines of Phobos have to avoid those siege tanks. Or have to avoid that siege tank, pardon me, and they're doing a good job of avoiding it. Too much, though, because this would be the time for them to sally forth. Instead, they're just backing up. Looks like that tank is on siege for ANIbot. It does pull back, though. It is getting repaired. If it sieges up, it'll definitely kill some Marines. 3 Vikings are on the way at a time for Phobos. It's, however, completely mined out of its main base. It's transferred all its workers to its natural. Now would be the time to float over its main. Looks like, was that another tank that died? Looks like it is. Somehow the unit control is just working out. That Phobos is actually getting off tank kills. And now it's potentially going to break the natural, splitting up the bases of ANIbot. Phobos is really trying. This is one of those scenarios where you're like, well, the 2 base failed, but then it just keeps on going and going and going. And the other player's like, this should be over by now. I've won. I've done everything right. Turns out ANIbot just bleeding out its tanks is really problematic. That being said, it's got 3 Liberators on the way. That could really change things up, depending how it sets those up. It's like Phobos wanting to move forward. It's getting dangerously close to that natural base. Auto turret gets dropped, gets shredded immediately. Vikings are in the sky for both of these bots, but Liberator getting set up now. That could really turn things around. Vikings fighting. 1 for 1 there. The 3rd base, oh no, will attempted to be broken by Phobos. That will not work. Do not engage a planetary with non-upgraded Marines. That's a big, big problem. Oh gosh, this PF, it's already got 21 kills. RIP Phobos' Marines, and we all know it's not going to be able to replace those. Is that what ANIbot needed? The big blunder. Phobos was doing okay when it was just containing, but without taking another base. It's even got a siege tank caught here. Uh-oh. Debs may need to work on that a little bit. Nothing to deal with the Liberators. ANIbot's patience, its strong economic play has really paid off. And I think that's like, this game, it's probably over, I'll say. As, yeah, it's like there's just mass production for the Blue Terran. The Red Terran is just trickling out Marines and siege tanks. If you gave a human player these siege tanks and Marines, maybe a human pro player in particular, they could probably win this game still just by out-positioning the bot. But then again, a human player would have at least floated their orbitals, so that could be something that Phobos, the developer, does. Phobos not giving up. Technically, it is up in army supply still, as it's remade a lot of Marines. It's still got out a decent number of Vikings, but breaking those planetaries is going to be real tough. It did just lose one of its siege tanks as well, which are so critical. Half of its siege tank force is caught in its base. These Marines engaging the PF again. Yeah, Phobos may need a little bit better unit control, it would seem. The Vikings just hang out as well. These Marines are doing well for themselves, getting around the planetary. They get a little bit... Oh, never mind. Turns out that PF is high-sec auto-tracking, so they did not stand a chance. That is not good for Phobos, as it's down in supply now. It's eventually going to mine out its natural. I think the only question left in this game is going to be whether Phobos, after it completely mines out its main and natural, whether it pulls the boys or floats a base. I think that's about it at this point. ANIbot just turtling up, doing its thing, in no rush to end the game. It says, give me a starport. I wouldn't expect to see a fusion core and some cattle bruisers. I mean, a tank is sieging up on this base, but yeah, they're gone. Yeah, it's just not enough. Phobos does start long-distance mining. It, however, does not transfer the base. So definitely could use some more redundancy. And I'm sure that's something the bot authors will get to. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, leave a comment down below that says more bots. Join the Discord. Consider becoming a subscriber or a YouTube member to support the channel. And yeah, this is the end. Phobos, yeah, I definitely have cast a Phobos game like this that went the exact same way, I feel. Long distance mining. We'll see. We'll definitely watch more Phobos games to see if it changes up its strategy. For some reason, it eventually said yes. Move the rest of these SCVs. It had them sitting there for a couple minutes, and then it's like, okay, now I'll move them. This tank sieging up in the presence of, wait for it, Liberators. That's not it. Phobos saying I lost some SCVs, all the SCVs, so I better build more. ANIbot gonna be closing the distance, going for blood with its massive 200 mech army. It's taken the base, taken the map, taken all the bases. And yeah, what a great game this was. These bots really are incredible. ANIbot would be a fun one to play against. I'll have to check if they, if the ES Champ guys have updated their play versus the AI program to include ANIbot. I know they released an update for it quite recently, and I definitely intend on doing more videos featuring that soon. And that is going to be that.